Hello, all you Cine-Pickers out there. Welcome to Cine-Picks, the show where we take turns picking movies for each other. This is Michaela, and I am Kevin. And so, Michaela, what was your Cine-Pick today?
All right, Kevin, my Cine-Pick for you was the Ryan Jonson film Knives Out, wonderful ensemble film. Okay, Kevin, so since I picked this movie for you, what is your uncensored version of what this movie is about?
Alright, so, Knives Out. Essentially, a wealthy, famous mystery novel artist has died, and his entire estate is up for grabs. Well, really, his family is expected to inherit it all. But, in a crazy twist of events, it turns out none of them get anything. It all goes to the nurse. But the nurse believes that she was the murderer the whole time, and a new detective has come to investigate the crime. So she spends the entire movie trying to cover up all of her tracks, while it turns out she was not the murderer the whole time. Wow! And in crazy Ryan Jonson form, you find out that the murderer is the person that you know absolutely nothing about, and you could not have predicted it. That's Knives Out. The end. Okay.
And yet you sort of did kind of predict it because he's the one. Okay, so like big spoilers ahead, right?
Yeah.
So we find out that Chris Evans is the guy. He's one of the family members.
hmm
What? Who does he play?
He
I can't
plays
remember his name.
Ransom. I had to make a chart because
Ransom,
there's too many people in this movie.
right?
Yeah, he played Ransom.
You automatically think that Ransom is going to be the murderer, like the real murderer, like right off the top, because already he's kind of like the most disliked member of the family. So then it's a red herring where you figure out, oh, he's actually innocent. But then they subvert the expectation again and they say, oh, wait, no, he's actually guilty. He's exactly who you thought he was. Um,
Well, he was actually throughout the entire movie. That's thinking in retrospect. Throughout the entire movie, they lead you to believe that he's not. He's basically the only one who's not suspected of murder. Because you know nothing about it. Because you know that all of the other characters, you have Walt, who owns a publishing company, was recently fired from the publishing company. You have Richard, who's married to Linda, who was caught cheating on Linda, and the grandfather was getting ready to expose that, so he has motive. Walt has motive. Joni is getting cut off financially. The grandfather's been propping her up this whole time, and he says, no more money for you. She's got motive, motive, motive. Everybody's got a motive, except for Ransom. Ransom was the only one that they did not establish any motive early on in the movie. And in fact, you didn't know anything about Ransom's. All you know is that they had some sort of argument, but you have no idea what the argument was about. Until the very, very, very end of the movie, when the uh, Detective Benoit Blanc, decides he's going to do his explaining thing, which is a very classic classic event at the end of every single murder
very
mystery
Scooby
story.
Doo.
Yeah, I mean
He's very Vilma.
but that's in
Who
every
done it?
single murder mystery thing. In Psych, in Monk, in uh, in
In The
Poirot,
Mentalist,
in
in
yeah,
Castle.
every single thing. Yeah, every
Yeah.
single murder mystery story where it focuses on a single detective trying to solve a case, there is that scene at the very end where the detective decides he's going to get everybody together and explain the murder. And they had that scene in this. But usually in that scene, the detective would give you all the clues that you already know about. Here's everything as you go throughout the entire story. Here's all of the clues that you have been given, and the detective will use all those clues and put them all together. And he basically does it for the audience, because the audience has been given a jigsaw puzzle of random clues and everything, and the audience has been trying to put it together this whole time. But the detective, he knows how to do it, and so he'll put it all together for you and create this beautiful picture saying, this is what happened, and this is who's guilty. And the audience is like, you're a genius, I love you. In this movie, it was different. In this movie, you were given pieces to this jigsaw puzzle, and you're trying to put them together. But in Ryan Johnson form, he did not give you all of the pieces. Okay, in this movie, the detective was holding some of the information, and you, also just never mind, not just the detective, all the characters were holding an important piece of the puzzle, and they held on to it so tight they would not let the audience see at all. So no matter how hard you tried to put this jigsaw puzzle together, there were pieces missing, and you can't see the whole picture. And so therefore you could never, ever, ever complete this jigsaw puzzle on your own. Never. And
So you're saying like it's an unreliable narrator sort of thing, and that's what frustrates you the most?
well, what frustrates
Yeah.
me the most, it's not unreliable narrator, it's the fact that Ryan Jonson never gave me a chance to complete this puzzle. That's so murder mystery stories are they're a different kind of story where it it involves the audience more than your regular story. A lot of movies you could just sit down and watch, and it's a great way to spend an hour and a half and you get some entertainment, and it doesn't matter if the story is really good or not. As long as it's entertaining, then it's great. Murder mysteries, it requires a certain level of audience participation. It's a game, so they give you this is the mystery at the beginning, and then as you watch it, they give you clues, and you're like, I want that clue. That looks important. I see everything, and then it's a game that you can play, and it's basically you're competing against the main character. The main character is trying to solve the mystery at the same time you're trying to solve the mystery, and as an audience member, I want to solve it faster uh, because the detective is so cool. He's a cool guy, and I want to be a cool guy too. And so I want to be as cool as that detective, and the only way I can do that is to solve this mystery before he does. So I'm playing this game while I'm sitting on my couch. I'm playing this game at the same time they're playing the game, and it's kind of a race. Who's going to do it, right? And so it's a at least that's the way I see detective, or that's the way I see murder mystery stories, and like it's very fun for me. That's why I love watching murder mystery stories so much. But in this one, I can't play this game if they don't play fair, right? Ryan Johnson did not play fair. He did not give me all the clues I needed to solve this mystery. So I could be as cool as Benoit Blanc, but there is no way. Like, Ryan Johnson says, no, you cannot be as cool as my guy, and so he gives the detective clues, but he doesn't give me clues. And I feel that I have been cheated in that way. That's how I felt at the end of this movie, because
So,
I wanted to
yeah.
play so badly, and at the end of the day, like, I was cheated, and I realized I could never have won this game. The game was rigged from the beginning, and I didn't find out until the very end that it was rigged. And so now it's like I just wasted 2 hours of my life playing this game that I could never win. And that's why I hate Ryan Johnson and why I don't like this movie.
Yes. So I have thoughts on that. And a lot of it has to do with a YouTube video that I actually saw regarding like the filming style of Ryan Jonson and the fact that that apparently is like his thing, is like creating movies that subvert expectation. The problem has to do with promises and
Hmm.
promises that you were given. And when the audiences feel like they weren't given what they were promised, they feel betrayed, which I think is like what you might be feeling. You might be feeling a little bit of betrayal.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
at the same time, I understand where you're coming from, but I can't completely disregard this film or Ryan Johnson because I feel like there were so many other elements in it that clicked together for me that I did not feel myself. I didn't feel betrayed. Um, at times, I felt a little bit lost as more things were revealed and more things were revealed to be red herrings. But I didn't feel too betrayed because at least the character wasn't somebody completely random. Like, at least we knew, I kind of had an inkling that the guy was suspicious from the second that he tried to get in on the deal, and he was the only one that got on the deal with, what's her name? Ah!
With
The main girl!
Marta. With
Marta!
Marta.
Marta. I was
Marta the
like, okay,
nurse.
we know that Marta, right? We know that
Hmm.
Marta is at least a reliable person in the fact that she doesn't have an underlying some kind of weird underlying motive. She kind of is who she is through the film, and we kind of see her if she has any character development that kind of unfolds before our eyes. Everything else, though, none of the other characters are really truly reliable because they all have motives underneath. So that's already set up.
Mm-hmm.
I think like you could go in with the expectation knowing that none of the characters are really what they say they are or doing what they're saying they're going to do. So already I think that for me that already set the expectation in my mind. I'm like, okay, nothing is really going to be reliable. It's probably going to get crazy, but at least we have Marta. We're seeing through things through Marta's eyes. So I wasn't too extremely let down. Like I would have been super let down if it was like that the other housekeeper
Mm-hmm.
that ended up getting poisoned or something. Like I would have been like, oh, it was her, what? Like then I
Yeah.
would have been like, what? That came out of nowhere. But at least it was somebody we'd already been introduced to, and
Mm-hmm.
they tried to kind of like at least mislead us in that way. So yeah, the whole thing about diverting your expectations was definitely still there, but I still felt like he kept most of his promises in terms of like what we could expect from the film, which is
Mm-hmm.
why I think a lot of people don't like The Last Jedi and like all of the other things that he made, because he was trying to do the same thing where he's like,
Yeah.
let's subvert everyone's expectations, but because we had like so many things built up in The Last Jedi where we were like, oh, we're going to get answers for this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's unfinished storylines. And then what does Ryan Jonson do? He says, no, none of those matter at all anyway. And then
Yeah.
everybody got mad because they felt betrayed, right?
Exactly. He betrays
And
his
I,
audience. That's so his idea of subverting expectations is completely betraying your audience, which is a douchebag move. That's not what people pay money for.
but I
It's
don't think he
terrible.
did it in this film,
He
though.
did it
Like,
in this
and
film.
even
He
if he did it
betrayed
on a micro
me.
level,
He said, "Hey Kevin, let's play a game." And I said, "Okay," because that's what a murder mystery movie is. It's a game. He says, "Let's play a game," and I start playing. And at the end of the game, I find out the whole game was rigged, and I could never win this game. I didn't have a chance. And so he cheated. He cheated. He withheld information. He's a liar, a cheater. He's a sore loser. He doesn't want me to win. And so therefore he doesn't let me win. He doesn't give me the opportunity to win. Okay? So he's a bad mystery writer. He's the only reason you would do that is if you're not confident in your ability to write these mysteries. But the thing is, he has a past history of doing this. For instance, in like the Last Jedi, to use like a quick example of that, in the Force Awakens, we were told that, or we were led to believe that Rey's parents or her lineage, or she's inherited her Jedi powers from some great Jedi, and we're trying to think, who
okay,
is this
yeah.
great Jedi?
And we don't know who the
We don't
parents
know who
are.
this
Who
is,
are the
and
parents?
everybody's trying to guess, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? And then in the Last Jedi, where we find out that, or at least we're told that uh, her parents are nobodies, that it doesn't matter, and then
Yeah,
we're finding, well, then
I
what
was
was
mad
that all
about that.
about? What was all, and so that's why people get pissed because, Ryan Johnson's like, who's the last person that anybody would suspect to be Rey's parents? Oh, I know, some deadbeat parents who abandoned her on a planet. That's, nobody would ever expect that. Well, you're right. Nobody would have expected that. Thanks a lot, jerk. That's, you see what I'm talking
Okay,
about?
but see, the other thing that I have to say, because I agree with that, and I think that's why I was disappointed by The Last Jedi, and that's why I think people who are diehard Star Wars fans, were disappointed by The
Mm-hmm.
Last Jedi. At the same time, as a person that is not a mega fan of The Last Jedi, sorry, or just the Star Wars franchise in general, I was able to go into that movie looking at it with a fresh pair of eyes, and there were other elements in that film that I did like. I liked the emotional elements of the story. I enjoyed most of the acting that was going on there. I really, really liked Luke's inclusion in there. There were some goofy moments, but like, honestly, overall, I don't think it was awful because there were other things that I did enjoy. It's just like when you play, you cannot play with Star Wars fans like that. And
Yeah,
like
well,
that's where you tread on dangerous territory. But I think like the attachment the people had to the characters, that's why the impact was so, and that's why that movie is universally hated. Going back when I watch it now, it's not nearly as bad as I think I thought it was. when it was in theaters. That's just my opinion. But like, I mean, then that's The Last Jedi, and we're talking about Knives Out,
Yeah.
obviously now, and obviously some of those things have leaked in, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as The Last Jedi was because it's a new story. It's not part of a trilogy. You're retelling a new thing with new characters. For the most part, I liked the acting from all of the ensemble cast. I did think that some of the characters were a little useless. Like some of them weren't flushed out as well. Like the
Basically
kid who's the teenage
everybody.
son.
Yeah, there was not. So the issue I have is that the characters. So here's the problem with the characters, and probably the reason why you have difficulty remembering who's who and what's what is because they introduce. It is actually the first thing I wrote down on my notes was too many characters introduced too quickly, too early. So basically, they introduce the entire cast all at the same, like within 5 minutes, just boom, 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 one at a time. Who's what? This is person. Ah, that's why I had to create this entire chart to keep track of who the heck are we looking at. Like who's married to who, whose children belong to which set of parents. Like what's good because there's so many. You've got three different. Basically, it's one whole family, but then you have three different families within that family and you have to
Yes,
keep track
but
of
they're
all
all
of those
such
people.
separate, distinct personalities that I was okay with it. That like I was able to distinguish. I just can't remember the names, obviously, of those individual people because one, there are so many. Not the proximity in which they were introduced, but because there are so many and we don't learn a lot about certain specific people.
Hmm.
Like you learn a lot about the older adults, obviously, because they have the most stake. They want the money. Obviously, everyone wants the
Yeah.
money. But like the younger characters, I feel like they were not utilized well. Um, like the
Hmm.
daughter who's in college, the teenage son who's supposedly a Nazi that everybody hates. But
Yeah.
honestly, he didn't do anything to deserve that.
No,
They
I
kept
don't
hating
get
on
it.
him, and I was like, he's not actually saying anything that's like really
Hmm.
awful. I mean, unless I just missed it. But I was
Yeah,
like, why
but
do they
like
keep punching back? Like using him
everybody
as a punching
bullies
bag.
him. Yeah, like he's constantly bullied by every single person, all of the adults, everybody. Everybody hates him. I don't know why. And then
You know what
yeah,
would have been funny if they made him the murderer? What if they
yeah,
made him the one that murdered
that would
Christopher Plummer?
that would make more sense. Maybe that was supposed to be the red herring. Maybe that was supposed to be the distraction, but it didn't work out. You
Because
just
he's
feel
the quietest one, you
yeah.
know? He doesn't talk a lot.
Hmm.
It could have been the grandma. It could have been the great grandma. She's another character that was not utilized well.
Yeah.
That I still have a lot of questions about.
So, uh, what was it? There was some weird inconsistencies with this, and I feel like some of it is Ryan Johnson trying to make this world more grounded in reality, and then other times where he's hoping that his audience is dumb enough to not figure stuff out. Like, for instance, when they go to see the security guard and they want to watch the tapes, the tape, the security tape is recorded on a VHS tape, and he tried to. I think it might have been the actor slipped up or whatever, but the actor said that he recorded the security footage on his VHS tape, and he used the SSP no the SSLP setting uh, on his VCR. And that is so. I think what he meant was SLP setting, not SSLP setting, because that stands for super long play. And so with that, you're able to record 8 hours of tape onto the VHS tape. 8 hours worth of film. So that is actually real. That's good. And they actually describe that. They actually add in that little detail and it's like, yeah, with when you use the SLP setting on your when you use your SLP setting on your VCR, you can record up to 8 hours of footage on a VHS tape. And so that's good. Also, the security guard mentioned that he uses a magnetic degausser to wipe the tapes, which is also correct. Security guards will wipe the tapes probably every 5 days or so in order to so they
Maximize space for
yeah, maximum
recordings.
space so they can record over it. And it's a better option rather than just recording over your VHS tape. Because when you record over your VHS tape, it decreases the resolution a little bit every single time you do it, and eventually the tape becomes completely unusable. But when you use a magnetic degausser, then it doesn't. There's no degradation of the tape at all, and you can just use it as long as you want, and it's good. So he added in those details. It's very good. Also, he made a note that the security guard said, I usually erase the tapes, but I saved this one because I thought it was important. Because that's also a good detail because uh, if he didn't save the tape, there's no reason why the tape would exist at all. So he made a note saying, I saved this tape because I thought it might be important. And it turns out it was important. So all those little details, good, good, good. Like very realistic details based in reality. Very, and I was watching it. I was like, wow, that's actually a really good, well-written scene. Obviously, Ryan Jonson, he did some research, or he has some knowledge about VHS tapes and security footage and all this stuff. Because some of that stuff I had to look up afterwards. Like, I was like nitpicking this movie, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
is this real? What is a magnetic degausser? Blah. And so then I realized, oh no,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
actually
Like he did his research to make sure
it
that the
all
writing
checks out,
was good.
right? And so like very good. But then there's other parts where they go to the what is it? The forensics lab. Yeah, so they go to the forensic lab. The forensic lab has been burnt down, and there's some important evidence inside. And everybody's like, "Oh no!" So can we look at the security footage? And they point to a camera. They don't even say anything. They point to a security camera that's been burnt, and the audience is supposed to assume that there is no security footage because one camera, has been burnt to a crisp. But everybody knows that the footage is not stored on the camera itself. It's stored on some server or computer somewhere else. Now, if the computer was destroyed in the fire, then you could say there is no footage. But they didn't show us the computer, they just showed us a camera. And so Ryan Jonson is hoping that his audience is full of idiots who wouldn't know how security cameras work.
Yeah, it's a
I
weird
actually.
mixture of like nitpicky details that like, oh, like that's a really good detail,
Mhm.
but then omitting details where there should have been more.
Yeah.
Also, I want to mention another thing in like the devil's in the details sort of moment. There is the moment where they have the big reveal that Marta is not the one who accidentally gave a fatal dose of morphine to the author.
Mhm.
That like the vials it was like the vials were switched or something like
Yeah.
that, and that and the detective, by the way, and we can go into this later, but I do not like Daniel Craig in this role. It's weird for me to process him, James Bond, speaking with a southern accent. I know that, I don't know, maybe you don't find that strange. I found it distracting, but that's just me. Anyway, back to Marta. The detective says something to her, like, you're a good nurse.
Yeah.
He's like, and you would have known. He says, you would have known based on the weight of the medications that which one it was, and you wouldn't have switched them up either way, because it turns out that she didn't actually give him the dose. I fact checked that with my friend who is a nurse.
Yeah.
And I said, would you be able, without looking at any of the labels, would you be able to differentiate between morphine and between would you be able to differentiate between two clear liquids?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the other?
Catrolac.
Catrolac.
Or Catrolac.
So would you be able to differentiate just alone by the weight of two clear medications which one it is, and then be able to administer them? And they said no, that's technically not possible unless they're like two completely different, like unless it's the difference between a bottle this big and a bottle this big, But she said they said that they wouldn't. There's no way that you can really do that. You would have to read the label. You would have to read the label. To make sure that you're administering the correct. There's no way that you can feel a difference in mass in a liquid. Like it's just not reliable. Yeah. However, I can see how maybe if those are the only two liquids medications that Marta had been giving that author for years and years and years, I
Hmm.
can see how maybe she would be accustomed to how they feel.
Yeah,
But typically, like
but
in the medical field, you're not supposed to do that. Like you have to
it's
read what's
bad
on the label.
practice. Yeah,
It's not good
if you do
practice.
it, then you are not a good nurse. If you just give somebody medicine
Yeah.
without looking at the bottle first, then you're not a good nurse. You know. But also, here's the thing: another very detailed detail that Ryan Jonson put in this movie that I also checked off as being very good was the fact that the medicine that he's giving her, the ketorolac, it is a pain medication usually prescribed to old people, usually administered through injection. That is used for surgery or certain kinds of injuries or whatever. And but this medicine you should not use for more than 5 days. That it's very important because if used for more than 5 days, it can cause gastrointestinal bleeding. Not a good thing to have if you are an 85-year-old person. Right. And so, which is how old the author was. So, only 5 days. Now, I was like, aha, I've got you, Ryan Jonson. Because like you, I was saying maybe she was administering this painkiller forever and ever and ever. No, there's they added this little line. She said that she's been giving him this painkiller because he pulled his shoulder last week. Last week could be within 5 days, which is within the time frame of using this medicine. So, very good writing in that little part there, adding in that little detail saying that this medicine has
Yeah.
been used for 5 days. 5 days.
So yeah, had she administered it accidentally
Yeah.
at that particular time on the cusp of the 5 days, it would have been in his system already, and it would have overdosed him,
Yeah.
which
Well,
then makes sense. Okay,
but so
yeah.
the morphine, I don't know how long they've been using the morphine. They didn't say exactly how long they've been using morphine, but there was another line where when she was getting ready to give him the morphine, he was getting excited because he likes the morphine, and because it makes him high and he likes it. But he adds in this little line saying, "Why did I wait so long to be a morphine addict?" Which means that he has not been using morphine for a very long time. So that is also a very recent medicine as well. So these two medicines she has not been giving him for years and years and years. This has been a very recent development, these new medicines that she's giving him right now. So the fact that she would be able to just tell the difference, just by feel, it's not. And also, she's not very old. I don't know how old she's supposed to be in this movie, but she's definitely in like her 20s.
She's
So
got to
she
be in her
right?
20s,
So
mid 20s
she's
maybe.
not she hasn't been a nurse for the past 50 years. She doesn't have this this lifelong experience of giving these medicines, and so it's just completely, I don't buy it at all. It completely took me out of the movie. I in my notes I called bull crap on the whole situation. I was like, there's no way. And the only reason why she can do it is because she is a quote good nurse. Do you know how many good nurses there are in the world?
She's a good
I would
person,
argue that the majority of
is what he
nurses
was trying to say.
I would argue that the majority of nurses are good nurses, right? So that means that any nurse should be able to tell these medicines apart just by feel. It's like, what are you? Yeah, so that was also
That's
bad
really hard to
writing.
do. And if you think that the labels are mislabeled, you're supposed to report that immediately
Hmm.
and get that tested and confirmed. Um,
Yeah.
because you don't want to be administering the wrong thing.
Hmm.
Uh, I get where she was freaking out about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that whole deal can be, if you get too wrapped up in the details about that, then it does detract away from the movie because it gets confusing.
Yeah. Well, it's because
And you're a very detail oriented
the
person.
details are, well, this is I told you before, remember, this is a murder mystery movie. I am just as involved in this murder mystery as any other character in the film. Okay, I want to solve this mystery, and so I'm taking notes. I want to solve this mystery, so I'm paying very close attention to the details because everything is important, right? And so that, usually in a movie, it doesn't matter. I get to watch as long as it's entertaining, the details don't matter. But this movie, the details are very, very important. And the fact that the details are very inconsistent, it makes it hard to it makes it hard to follow this movie and to solve this mystery. And the fact that they didn't even give me all the details to begin with, you know, makes it impossible to actually solve this mystery. And so that's it. So usually I'm not this. I don't pay attention this much when I watch a movie. But because this is a murder mystery movie, I want to play
You're
along.
making an exception.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because it goes with the territory of the genre.
Hmm.
Yes. Which is where I'm wondering too, if maybe he was trying to blend the whole, like he was trying to deviate from the whole murder mystery thing.
Hmm.
It does get complicated when your thing is subverting expectations, which is inherent with a murder mystery film. But then you subvert the expectations that you already subverted to begin with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is
Well.
why then too, there's like a weird three arc thing to this movie where it starts out in the very typical murder mystery vein.
Hmm.
Then it goes into act two where, oh, you think it's pretty conclusive. Marta is the person that murdered him accidentally, the author. But now it's a matter of how is she gonna get away with it, and it's like cat and mouse thing.
Yeah.
But then it comes out in the third act, oh, she didn't do it. It actually was someone else.
Hmm.
Now what? So like it's like subverting. He subverted the expectations in Act One, only to re-subvert them in Act Two, which is I think it was interesting. I think it was a really good way elongate the movie and add more to it, but I can also see how that would be confusing to a lot of people, um, given the facts that weren't explained in Act Two when it switched genres kind of quickly and stopped becoming a murder mystery and started becoming more of a thriller,
Hmm.
you know?
I do give him credit for that because it does make you wonder. Okay, well, who could it be then? Like, because it's very obviously how he died. He did actually slit his own throat. She did give him the morphine, all this stuff. So it does. So that subverts the genre in a way. It subverts the usual way of telling a murder mystery story. And so I see that was good, in a way where Ryan Johnson's trying to switch things up a little bit. And but he still didn't play fair in the end because he withheld too many clues. Like, for instance, a big clue is the fact that Ranson he has a nickname Hugh. He likes to make all of the house staff call him Hugh, and that's a thing that happens in this movie. The thing is, you don't learn that his nickname is Hugh until the very end of the movie when they're already revealed that he is the murderer, which that's a pretty big clue that you're hiding from the audience. So therefore, the audience would never be able to guess who the murderer is because
But
of that.
alternatively, if he revealed that the nickname was Hugh too early on, the audience might have figured it out too fast.
Maybe, but still, you can't withhold that evidence. That means that Ryan Johnson is scared that his audience will be too smart, and so in order to fix that problem, Ryan Johnson says, "I just won't tell anybody," because Ryan Johnson is a sore loser. That's just Ryan Johnson. He's a sore loser. He can't. He has to be the one to do every. He can't let anybody else figure out what he's doing, and so he's a sore loser. Whereas if any other competent mystery writer were to write this movie, they would have put that in somewhere, and would have done it in a clever way to where the audience would feel satisfied that they had the information, but they weren't able to put the pieces together until the very end. Because that's the whole point is you give everybody puzzle pieces. By the end of the movie, you've got a whole jigsaw puzzle, but you don't know how to put it together. Or you can't put it together fast enough. And so the detective says, "Let me help you out with that." And the detective will go and just boom, 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 boom. And then you're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so smart. How did you do it so fast?" And he's like, "That's why I'm the detective." And they're like, "Ah, I see. But in this one, Ryan Johnson, he's giving you puzzle pieces, but he's not giving you all the puzzle pieces. And so no matter how hard you try, no matter how long you work at this puzzle, you will never complete it because he didn't give you everything you needed. Because he's a sore loser. He's afraid that you would solve this puzzle faster than his main character. And so they're just that's
Or maybe that's just the beauty of a murder mystery.
no, no,
Is that
no,
you're not gonna
no,
know
no,
everything.
no, no, no,
Kevin,
no,
you
no,
know?
no.
This
That
is
is
you're not
not the
gonna
beauty of a
really
murder
know
mystery. No, the
everything.
beauty of a
You're
murder
there
mystery
for
is
the
they
ride.
no, the beauty of a murder mystery is that they give you everything you need to solve the puzzle, but the only person who can solve this puzzle is the person who is the detective, the main detective, because he's the only one who's able to put it together. He's the master
Who
puzzle
sucks, by the
master.
way. I'm sorry, I don't like Daniel Craig in this role. I just really don't. It's weird. It was just
Yeah,
weird for
no,
me.
and I
I
get
felt
it.
like
He's
he
he's a
was the one
creepy guy.
withholding evidence. I
No,
feel like he was the one that was withholding evidence and
well,
giving misleading stuff.
who right? Benoit Blanc did not write this movie. Okay, Daniel Craig did not write this movie. That was Ryan Jonson wrote this movie. He wrote Benoit Blanc. He created Benoit Blanc. If Benoit Blanc withheld evidence, it's only because Ryan Jonson made him withhold evidence. It all leads back to Ryan Jonson. Ryan Jonson, he's a sore loser. He's a cheater. He's a child. He cannot let anybody else win. He doesn't want anybody else to win. He wants to be the winner. And so he cheats, he lies, he's a sore loser, he's a child, he's just the worst. He should not be in charge of these movies. He's not be in charge of writing a murder mystery movie. I can't believe anybody let him do it. And
Yeah, someone in the comments is gonna be like, stop mansplaining shit to Michaela and sounding like a crazy person. Because I'm not about to sit here while you rant and rave and throw your hands up in the air, okay? Calm down.
I,
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying,
You
like,
need to
it's not
calm
a,
yourself
this is not
down,
the beauty of a the beauty of a murder mystery is that it's a game that you can play and that you at least feel like you have a chance of winning. Ryan Johnson, he gives you a chance, like maybe you could win, maybe you could win. It's like when you're playing a board game with somebody and somebody's like, and it's a brand new board game, you don't know all the rules, and so you're playing with him, and then and he's like, oh, that's a good move, you can do it, you can do it. He's like cheering you on to the very end, and then he goes, wow. And then you're like, what the heck was that? And he's like, that was in the rules the whole time. I could have done that whenever I feel like it. Like, but you didn't tell me. I could have done that like 3 moves ago, and I could have won. But I can't win because he withheld that information from me, just so he could
No,
win
I
because he
understand.
didn't want me to win. And the thing, so here's the thing, I, you know, I'm this new guy, every single murder mystery thing. I'm this new guy coming in, because the detective, hey, he's been doing this forever. There's a reason why he is the lead detective in this movie because he's solved hundreds of cases. He's an expert at this, right? I'm just some guy who sits at home watching movies. I'm not a professional detective, okay? So I can try, and I really want to try to win, right? But in the end, I probably won't win. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I can, when I watch a murder mystery show or whatever, I can predict the ending, and I'm like, ah, very good. Like I did it. I'm better than the awesome detective. That means I'm a cool guy, right? But in this movie, Ryan Johnson's afraid that I'll be the cool guy. He doesn't want me to be a cool guy. He wants to be the cool guy. He wants his characters to be the cool guy. But he doesn't want me to be the cool guy. And so he's constantly pushing me away. He's or no, he's not. He's stringing me along for the whole movie, and then saying, "Ha ha, you'll never win." He will not let me win. Yeah, that's the. So I feel like this really, because I feel like this is like the fifth time I've said the same thing, and I've used like a ton of analogies. I think what it is this is a difference. This is the difference between, I guess, different viewers. And unfortunately, I feel like most people are like you, who watch this movie and enjoy it anyways, despite the fact that Ryan Johnson just cheated you out of your money and time. Uh, but you somehow enjoyed it because if you go on to Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it made tons and tons of money, and a lot of people really like it. But I feel like I was cheated. That this is why I don't watch Ryan Johnson movies. So as I'm talking about this, you're like, "Oh, Kevin, you really like murder mystery shows. Why didn't you watch this movie? Why did you wait till Michaela introduced this movie to you before you watched it?" The reason is because it's a Ryan Johnson movie. He does this every single time. and I can't stand him. And so, because you suggested it to me, I guess I'll watch it. And he did exactly what I thought he would do. He pissed me off, and the same way he does it every single movie. Yeah, and so why didn't I watch it before? Because I don't want to give him money because he does not deserve my money. I don't feel like he deserves anybody's money. He should go. I don't know, do something else that doesn't piss people off. He should maybe go work at McDonald's or something. He'd have a hard time pissing people off over there, but maybe he'll find a way. Yeah,
Kevin, since I picked this movie for you, what rating would you give this Cinepick?
I would give it a 1 out of 10. And the only reason why it's
Oh,
not a 0 is because it is a beautiful looking movie. Like if you look at the movie, it was filmed very well. I give that credit to the cinematographer, not the director. The cinematographer and the production designer for creating a beautiful house to film and filming in such a great way. But that's why I give it a 1 out of 10, not a 0 out of 10. So there you go. What would you
gotcha.
rate this movie?
You're not gonna like it.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Because, see, the thing is, and I understand where you're coming from logic-wise, I do acknowledge that there are some weird inconsistencies that happen in there with the plot in terms of like withholding the evidence, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
But I myself still was able to enjoy it despite all of those things. I thought that most of the dialogue was actually pretty clever, like the dialogue between characters itself. I feel like the only major flaw in this movie was with the weird plot inconsistencies and the subverting expectations more than like I'm good with the subverting an expectation maybe once or twice. If you dip into the 2-3 territory, I'm just like start losing interest and I'm like I have no idea where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe some people find that fun. So basically my rating is for me, I thought it was pretty good. I think it's a 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
So that is my rating.
Yeah. Well, I'll get over it. Okay.
Should we go on to the next one?
Yeah, let's get on the next movie because
One
it's
that
the
I
double
think we're pretty much in
feature.
agreement with. Thanks so much for watching, all you Cinepickers. Thank you so much for watching Kevin and I discuss our latest two. Can I restart? All right. Thank you so much, all you Cinepickers, for watching Kevin and I deconstruct our latest two Cinepicks. Make sure to like and hit the subscribe button for more videos like this, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, goodbye.
Bye!